about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. I don't know.
That was great sounds of Watts with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime does a good job mimicking me. His name is Long Island Raised, Elm City Made, EZ BlueZ is in the building. EZ BlueZ, you're better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us today on Behind the Brand?
Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you all the time, life is merely nothing but a moment strung together are like a string of pearls around the neck. And through those moments, you continue to grow, and you can see these things from a different point of view. It is truly a blessing when you can sit and talk with someone who has that wonderful eye to catch the beauty of every single moment. Because remember, just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean there isn't beauty in that very particular moment. And we really want to thank this person. Put your hands together, not if you're driving. If you're driving, you keep your hands at 10 and 2 because we don't want any accidents. Put your hands together mentally for Casee Marie, the phenomenal photographer and absolutely rocking the purple hair for those just listening on the radio. Welcome, bienvenue.
Thank you so much. What an introduction.
We like to make people feel special.
I feel very special right now. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. For those who don't, for those playing the home game that don't 100% know who you are,
yes.
You are a photographer, not necessarily a scene photographer,
right.
Because you also deal with like still life and portraits and different things like that.
Right.
What made you decide to take a look at this past a hobby aspect? This is something that a lot of people will pick up because, oh, birds, and then we'll go out and try to take pictures.
Right.
But this is now something that has become a part of your life and something that is, we'll say, aggressively passive income.
Yeah. It's been a journey. I never expected it. Very unexpected. I am a writer by trade, and so I always deal with language and words, and the visual aspect was a hobby that I developed over time. And then I was actually given a DSLR camera, my first proper camera, from my parents for Christmas years ago. And I was, again, just birds and nature and things like that. It had a telephoto lens, which was a lot of fun with wildlife. And I really enjoyed it. And it was something about being able to see the world around me and then capture those moments. I couldn't let go. As soon as I saw something, I was like, that would make a good photograph. And I needed to have a camera with me all the time. And so I went to 2016, I went to the Newport Folk Festival. Mm-hmm. That in itself was an adventure for me because I was, I want to say maybe 27 at the time. And I have lived with severe anxiety all my life. And it was predominantly social anxiety. And I actually got to the point in my teens into my 20s where I became essentially housebound. I was afraid of driving. I had stopped driving. Going to the grocery store all of these things were very difficult to me.
Wow.
And when I turned 26, I kind of said to myself, I need to make a change. And I started therapy. I started, medication, all these different things, and really started embracing my fears and living a fuller life as a result. So going to the Newport Folk Festival as somebody with social anxiety when there's about 10,000 people there was pretty big for me. And I brought my camera, and I found that I had always been passionate about music, but I found that I was so entranced by the emotional connection of the artist to their music and seeing their facial expression, seeing their body language. It made me really want to take pictures. And so I took a bunch of photos. There was an individual there who had been brought up on stage to sing with one of the artists in kind of a surprise event. He didn't know it was going to happen. And I took photos of him as well. And the next year, I had put those photos into a book as like a commemorative thing for myself. And I was like, look, they look good printed out in a book. This is cool. And like, this was me with my little DSLR. I didn't, my little entry level. And I was like, look, they actually look decent. And when I was at the festival the next year, I saw this man who I had taken photos of. So I stopped him and he was there photographing the festival. And I showed him the book and I said, I have your photo. And he was blown away. And he looked through the book and he said, you took these? I said, yeah. I said, from the audience. And he said, these are better than some of the photos coming out of the pit. And I was just like, what? Because I thought, I don't have like the gear. I don't have the, all I have is just my interest. And he told me, he said, you can have all the gear in the world, but if you don't have the eye for it, you're not going to produce great photos. You can have the technical ability to produce great photos, but you won't have the emotional ability. Mm-hmm. And that just kind of spurred me. And I was like, I want to do more of this. And I did. I went through the rest of the festival, just constantly taking my pictures. And I met some folks here in Connecticut. I live in Connecticut, obviously. And I met some folks out here who host house shows and do brewery shows and things like that. And I would bring my camera to the brewery shows. And it was a lot of fun for me. But what really if you want to use them, and they really enjoyed it. And it was also like it was a necessary thing. It's a necessary thing for artists because they're not having people coming and photographing their shows all the time. They don't have the content for social media necessarily, so I found that like it was really, really appreciated. And it was my way of being able to say like, thank you for creating this music. That music has been a big part of like my healing journey with anxiety and all of this stuff, but also thank you for creating this space for people to come in and enjoy themselves and hear your music live and, have a good time. So that kind of was what catapulted me. And then I started to make friends with local artists, and it was like, oh, the more I started doing things, I had actually published a piece with my Newport photos in my sister's college newspaper. And I was like, they look decent in newspaper print too. This is cool. And then it sort of turned into other artists could, use the photos on social media. They started using them in their CDs and posters. Stephen Peter Rogers did a show and he actually projected one of my photos on the stage behind him. And I was like, this is huge. Like it looked decent. And it's still coming from my small, my kind of entry-level camera. Wow. So that's been my journey.
Well, see, I love that you brought up the gear aspect, and it's something that everyone getting into a form of art that is technology dependent or gear dependent can get wrapped up in it. And it happens so much in the music industry and in the music world. I don't know if you both have seen the incredible movie, I call it iconic, Tenacious D's Pick of Destiny.
Oh, great movie. Great film.
Yes. Well, they have the point where they need to get better. They need to be great. And instead of like practicing and learning how to write a great song, they have to go to Guitar Center to find the perfect, piece of equipment. And that's how many times, I've stumbled into a Guitar Center with the band trying to find the exact piece of equipment throughout your entire journey until you realize the most important piece of equipment is the song itself. And when you can have that good song, or in your case, the eye, where you can see the beauty of the image as it's happening, instead of having to pick between 1.5 million different images to hope that something comes through. Now, again, I never pour salt in anyone's hustle, because you do what you do, people love what they love, and you be, as long as you're, not a horrible human being, you be the human being you need to be, and everyone's happy. Now, I love also the fact that in your story, and thank you so much for having the moment of vulnerability. and sharing that with us. We really appreciate that. But someone who came from a point of like severe social anxiety to now making friends in a massively socially anxious industry. I mean, most of the musicians I know are some of the most neurotic and, you know, anxious people in the entire world. And that's just because they haven't seen anyone walk in the door yet, and the show is supposed to start in 20 minutes. You know, so what has that been like to kind of, I don't know, I almost look at it as like a moth to a flame.
Yeah.
Was that kind of, you know, that clicking ability? And you know I know a lot of the people you're friends with, so I kind of already know the answer to that, but the people listening at home don't know the answer, so
Yeah.
let's let them find out.
Yeah.
You know, so the type of people that you're connecting with, and who, you know, you mentioned Stephen Peter Rogers,
Yes.
phenomenal singer-songwriter, obviously been on the show a couple of times. You know, shout out to the Mighty Purple, shout out to all the work that he's done to help facilitate the scene that we all currently walk in.
Right.
You know, it's been an honor and a blessing to know him, and I love the fact that I kind of got to know him more on the human side instead of the business or musician side. I think that it's been one of the cooler aspects of this evolution of life.
Yeah, he is a stunning human
but who
being.
are some of the other
really
cast of characters?
Yeah. So there's, you know, there's so many amazing people that not an artist, but an incredible facilitator is a good friend of mine named TJ, who runs Con Artist Concerts, CONN, like Connecticut, but Con Artist. And he is the one I literally found him on Facebook. He was advertising a house show out in Southbury, and I messaged him, and this was, you know, very early on, and I wasn't really doing a whole lot of, like, everything social was still extremely anxiety producing for me. And I messaged him on Facebook, and I was like, listen, I don't know you, but I really like music. Can I come to your house? And he was like, yeah, come on over. Here's the address. And it was amazing. And now I'm like part of the family. They're just, I adore them so much. But like even my family, they're like, where are you going? You know, it was like, what are you doing now? And so he introduced me to a lot of people. He introduced me to Brian Jarvis, to Lee Sylvester, to not local, but very often comes around, Benny Bassett, who is a dear friend, wonderful singer-songwriter.
Right.
And I actually met Steve Rogers through, I was photographing another amazing artist, Brian Dolzani, who we met through social media, I think, because we both would go to the Newport Folk Festival, and he's also he's a phenomenal photographer, fantastic film photographer, just beautiful. And we connected on social media, and I went to see him play a couple times, and he was playing a gig at Best Video in Hamden with Seth Adam, who I met for the first time there, another phenomenal person and great singer-songwriter with a new album coming out soon that I have a photograph on the album art. So
that's anyway, awesome. And a phenomenal podcast he just dropped this week.
He did, yeah. Yeah,
I happen to know the guy that was on
as a guest artist.
And I knew the guest. The guest is he's kind of a jerk, but you know,
I think he's pretty cool.
Right.
I think he's pretty cool. I think everybody should check it out. So yeah, I was photographing the two of them. Just you know, I would always go to Brian's shows and kind of pop in and take some photos. And Steve kind of stopped me and said, you know, I'm doing an album release at the State House in a couple weeks. Would you want to come do photos? And I was like, sure. And that was his first album that he released, Count It All Joy. And it was just like instant friendship from there. And so we've done artist portraits together. I also help with back end things for a lot of local musicians. So I do websites, I create EPKs, I set up their social media, I do social media graphic design, write bios, things like that. So it's, you know, it's been like this really cool collaboration with him that I've been able to support, you know, his journey from Mighty Purple to bar venue owner to now solo artist, and now he has his recording studio, and yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. Somebody else I know I'm forgetting people, but I also want to mention Keith Carini, because he is a just stunning songwriter, and I met him just last year, and he is just I can't wait to see what he's doing next. Everybody should check him out if they haven't yet.
I actually love that you mentioned the other services and stuff that you offer, because there's a lot of people, who are not in the industry that are like, what in the world is she talking about? And two, I didn't know you offered any of that stuff. We'll talk later. So much work. I just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. It's interesting, because when I started, when I was housebound, my passion was computers. I was teaching myself, this was 2006-ish, I was teaching myself web design and how to code a website and all this different stuff. And I'm not going to say I can code now, because it's ridiculous, but thankfully we have a lot of great website platforms and whatnot. But you take for granted, like, the stuff that I was on all the time, their social media and things that, I was in Photoshop playing around and doing stuff like that. And like, that's all stuff that I've acquired sort of a skill set for over the years. And a lot of folks are just like, I just want to make my music, So it's like, cool, I can jump in and do that for you.
Well, look, there's a lot. First of all, there's only 24 hours in the day,
right?
And you've got to get the practice in there. You've got to get, the preparation. You're more than likely the one that is booking the show as well. You got to make sure that's going to go through. You got to make sure everything is checked off in those spots. Do you really have time to create the content to do those 5 posts a day on several different platforms of social media, which is the only way to continue to grow your audience and move forward? And, if you post 6 that day, you've just lost 10,000 people. I don't know why 6 is a bad number, but 5 is the sweet spot, apparently. So it's really, there's a lot, and not having one of those things in check could burn you at some point, whether it be like a giggle burn or something that could cost you a job. I know, like, we have a website merely only because we don't have an EPK, and our website is like, I don't think we've updated it in 2.5 years. It's just there, but also because now that we have the deal with virtual merch booths, we can use that as an EPK that has all of our social media links, it has all the images, it has everything that we need to get on there. So you can actually use that instead. But, even, going through like the bios and stuff like that, we've been blessed. We have been blessed, between myself and the other guys, we all kind of like writing, and, John is amazing. He did the newest version of the bio. It's hysterical and honest, and that's the most important thing for us. But it's so important, because these can be some of the first things, people see before they hear your music. They're going to read your bio. And that's for jobs. Like, this isn't even just like to get that extra stream. This is for a job. You know what I mean? And you're already looking at people saying, well, they only got 150 listeners this week, this month on Spotify, so maybe we want to go with this other band. You already have so many things going against you.
Right.
The more you can come in with that thing. So why don't you talk a little bit about what it's like to create the bio and the social media aspect from the outside looking in? We've never had the conversation with someone who's not in the band themselves doing it. So I love this conversation.
Absolutely. It's funny. I can't believe neither one of us have mentioned Sarah Dunn yet, because you're talking about the
I've been waiting for you.
I know.
I've self-promoted enough. I've been waiting for you.
So, I have known Sarah for years before she was performing around Connecticut, and she actually, some of her songs that she has released now on her EP that came out in May, I believe, she would send me little videos on WhatsApp when she was writing the songs and starting to play the songs, and she didn't want anybody to hear them. And so I've been sort of had that window into her creative growth from literally the conception of these songs to now you know, we did a brand sort of an artist portrait session. We've done a couple. One of them, she literally went into a little lake in a prom dress and floated very, you know, Ophelia style. And it was stunning. But she's so much fun because she gets these ideas, and she's a photographer's dream, because you're there with your camera and she's like, what if I do this? What if I do this? So it makes it happen. And she has such a cool vision. And so I really watched her go from starting this idea of these songs to, do I really have it in me to put them out into the world? And I believe I was the one who connected. I don't want to take credit where credit may not be due, but I connected her, I think, with Stephen Peter Rogers, and she recorded the album with him. And he was a huge part of her confidence growth. And then it came time to, you know, okay, we're gonna put her out there as an artist. And so it was building the website, building up the Bandcamp and the social media accounts, and writing the bio and building the EPK and setting up the tour dates and all of these different things. And it was so cool. It was so cool because I had such a personal connection to this individual. And so, you know, everybody that I work with, I develop a great friendship with anyway. And but this was a friendship that started before the creative collaboration, and seeing that grow and being able to contribute to her art in that way was really beyond words for me. It was so special. So
that's awesome. And it's great because, you know, there was the friendship prior, and that's kind of what I wanted to get into.
I wanted to get into that too, but I muted myself on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Reigns, Elm City made EZ BlueZ is in the building. My clumsiness on Behind the Brand. Go ahead, guys.
Oh
Lord,
my goodness, that was amazing. Lord have mercy. You know, you have to really get to know the acts, you know, to yes, photography, you know, doing the photography stuff as well, but really when you're continuing to act as the voice or the social media voice for acts, you have to get to know them ahead of time, so that you can represent them correctly, and also understand that maybe this isn't someone you want to, you know, represent. You know, you can't really align, you know, as I like to say, I'm sorry, your brand and its beliefs don't really align with my brand and its beliefs, so it's not good business for us to work together. You know, and that's a real conversation that has to be had, and it's much better to be had up front. You know, I don't want to sink 10, 15, heck, I don't want to sink an hour and a half into building something with somebody to realize that, like, I just gave the devil money. You know what I mean? And that's fine. Like, the devil needs to make its money too. I'm not saying that. It's just I don't necessarily need to, you know, have that blood money kind of stuff, you know, in me. Do you have like an interview process with the acts? Do you know, if someone's looking to hire you, do you like, sure, no problem, we're gonna go get some coffee and talk first, you know, let me hang out with you guys for like 2 or 3 days, or some of the things that I will try to do when helping people understand branding and social media is I'll hang out with them for a week, kind of just like a free thing, and then, you know, tell them what I see their vision being. And then they tell me to go away, and I do, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. It doesn't hurt my feeling, you know. But is that something that you do as well, or are you more like, you know, burn it and turn it?
It's interesting. I think because of the way, I think as I grow, I will definitely need to implement that. But I know the word organic is very overused right now, but it really, my connections have come around very organically. I meet artists, I get into like this circle with them, and then it's like I've known this particular artist for, you know, several months, and we've seen each other and talked at gigs and things like that, and then they're like, oh, hey, I wanted to do this, you know, would you be interested in working with me on it? So the way that my work has come through community connection, I think it's almost done that work for me of like weeding out, because the fact that a lot of the artists I'm connecting with are already good friends with my friends, it's like, oh, they've kind of passed the test of, they're very, they're pursuing a meaning, a sense of meaning in their lives. And I think that's, for me, what I connect with the most, obviously, given my history. And I talk very openly about my history with mental illness, because I was afraid to talk about it for years.
Right.
And I realized that when I started to talk about it, it lost its power over me. And I found that when I did talk about it, almost always somebody would tell me either I relate to that or someone I know relates to that, whether it was their child or something. And so I found that I was actually helping people. And in a sense, the artists that I work with, it's like they too are, providing some solace and some space for people to inhabit, to feel a certain way, whether they're looking for joy, whether they're looking for empathy, whether they're looking for just some peace, or just even just chaotic expression of like, I just need to be out and dance somewhere or something like that. Like everybody is providing that, and also putting their soul into their work. And that's huge to me. I never wanted to be in a cubicle and do, blessings to the people who do, because, we need people in the cubicles for our society to sustain. And we need tech support, and we need like all these things that people do. But I knew for myself that I just was my happiness was too deeply attached to my artistic passions, that I had to find a way to make that a central part of my life and my work.
And that honestly is one of the most important things. And it goes actually back in the annals of history, and actually music history. Love him or hate him, and definitely there was a point in time in which he was not a phenomenal human being. But John Lennon, there is that parable that he would talk about being in school, and the teacher asked what he wanted to be when he grew up, and his answer was happy.
Yeah.
And the teacher's like, I don't think you understood the assignment. And then he was like, I don't think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Happiness is one of the most important things you can do. And when and we here in this country don't necessarily understand happiness as much as other places do. When in Europe you're guaranteed 2.5 to 4 to 6 weeks of vacation, that is mandatory for school time, where the whole family will go and do something together. You're having a much higher quality of life. The size and year of your truck does not measure the quality of your life. It measures how much you can buy at a moment. I'm gonna get off my soapbox though, because last time I was on my soapbox, the internet was like, we're not gonna work no more.
You're not allowed to speak that way. Yeah. It's interesting because as somebody, I also, outside of working with artists, I work as a VA, a virtual assistant. And I work with a lot of coaches and things like that. And before doing all of this, I was a blogger. So I had a fashion blog, I had a literature blog, I had a mental health blog. I did all the things. And so as somebody who has an online based business, it's kind of gruesome, the amount of hustle and like all of this stuff. And I have never subscribed to that. I've never been somebody who's like, I want to do the whole glorification of busy thing. I want to have a quiet life. Like I want to have, meaningful moments in my life. And obviously work is there is the stigma, work is hard. Like we all have to do things that we don't want to do. But, I'm very fortunate that my clients who are coaches are incredibly thoughtful coaches and very, heart-centered in their businesses, and they really want to help people. And I've seen other, the coaching industry has kind of exploded, and there's a lot of like people like, I'm going to make millions of dollars as a coach, and I'm going to teach other people how to make millions of dollars. And it's just sort of like, there's a lot of noise, and there's a lot of unfortunately, there's a lot of people in online based businesses who are not, they have service-based businesses, and they're not interested in serving.
Right.
They're interested in, maybe leading, and that's okay, but it can get really, really messy. And that's one of the things that I like about my work, is that I help people to not be so busy.
Right.
So that's kind of my quote unquote elevator pitch, if I had one, would be something like, I help people streamline their tasks so they can focus on the work that they love, because not a lot of people like doing, I've done sales funnels and automations and things like that, and it's like, people just want to be out there talking to people and sharing their thoughts and sharing their experiences. And they don't necessarily want to do all of that. So I'm happy that I can kind of provide an alternative to the glorification of busy. And hopefully in doing that, I contribute some sense of calm to other people's lives, because I think our society needs that a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And from a branding point of view, I'm just going to put this out here. I think you should make like a tabletop book and call it like The Glorification of Busy, and just have photographs of like local artists in a tabletop book. And there you go. It's perfect.
I love that.
It sells itself. You can do it. You can print it up. You can get it done at, I think, Hallmark. You can do it through there or something like that, and just have it so it looks like that old flip calendar, and be even funnier. But yeah, I'm totally down. I think we just came up with $1 million idea. Well, it's funny because I love how you talked about the explosion of the coaching thing. I remember it's obviously an explosion, but it's a really, like, it took a really long time. Like, it's been a very long explosion. I remember working at bookstores, and the self-help books were always like the ones that you were going to sell the most. And How to Be Rich. My buddy and I were like, we're gonna write a book on how to be rich. It's gonna be easy. It's gonna be done in 2 chapters. Chapter 1, write a book on how to make money. Chapter 2, get on Oprah. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. That's all.
Now
you
it's everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it is.
Now it's absolutely everywhere.
It is, and it's like,
go ahead.
It's interesting as somebody, like, for me, and I did rely on like some degree of self-help, and I still do, but like for me, my self-help was reading Mary Oliver, the poetry of Mary Oliver, David White, the books of Pema Chodron. She's a Buddhist nun. Like, these were things that they're fortunately, a lot of people know about them now. They're continuing to grow, but there's so many sort of, like, I don't want to say scammy, but kind of gimmicky books that are thrown around, in it's such a big field that I sometimes worry. I'm like, the gems are in there, you just got to dig for them. So but it's a crazy industry.
No, it really is. And it's, I say all the time, the invention of the internet and what the capabilities to do, where we have so much power back now, where you don't need to look for a publishing deal to get your stuff up there, in a writing aspect. You need to have a vlog or a blog or a website that just tells stories. And hey, whatever stories you want to tell, as long as they're legal, that's all I care about.
Right.
I don't story shame. I don't story shame here on Behind the Brand. But it's so important to then also become responsible. Just because you have all of this power at your fingertips, you almost need to be more responsible. And even from the music point of view, I say all the time, it's a blessing. We don't necessarily need the labels to get your music internationally distributed because you have
Right.
these streaming sites. And of course, they don't pay, and it's fine. If you're a local band, you're used to not getting paid anyway. Let's be real. I'm just gonna be
Well,
real.
yeah. And that's, that's an interesting, that's a thing that kind of ties into what I do, because I do still work with my starter camera, my very going back to the tech aspect, like obviously, the adage that you get what you pay for. If you're going to hire Danny Clinch to take your photos, you're going to get some pretty good photos. Like that's going to be top of the line for you. And so like I because I have this very small gear, but I've been told an eye that produces good photos. I'm more accessible, you know what I mean? And I think that's a key thing for me, is I don't aspire to like to get these, pop radio touring bands to pick me up or something like that. I have no interest in that, because there are plenty of, professional photographers who are getting up the gear and getting up the stats and, all of that. But what I aspire to do is exactly what I'm doing, supporting local artists. And I'm able to do that in a way that is like, you're not having to break your budget to bring me in,
Well, no, it's true, because there's a lot of artists that are out there that know they need, the content and the photography and different things like that. But their one friend who was grabbing it on their iPhone, hand keeps shaking, and nothing looks good. And there is kind of like that level up type of feeling. You start to feel better about the stuff that you're putting out. You also then have to come to terms with you and what you're putting out as a product, which can be heartbreaking for some artists. For some artists, they're like, whatever, I'm a sideshow. I get it. And for other artists, are like, but my integrity. I am here to give the Shakespeare away on the park for free. I must hold on to my integrity. And I'm like, bro, I just wanted to get you paid. I'm sorry that I wanted to get you paid. My bad. Just shut up and take the picture. Not that you ever act like that. I've been on set. I've been on set with you. You are an absolutely lovely human being to shoot for. I am a jerk. You were amazing. Just putting it out
it's
there.
funny, because we do have a very our society is very visually motivated, especially when you're, if you're trying to market your music on social media. People respond to seeing you as an artist. They respond to seeing your live performances, seeing your face, seeing your portraits, whatever. They want to, go to your Instagram and see who it is that this, who this band is. And it's hard to get stuff like that. It's I feel like gone are the days of like, being able to set up a tripod and take your own your own band photo. Like, it's not, as people don't really do that. And so being able to, I remember one of the bands that I photographed, I do a lot of work at Woodbury Brewing Company, they're one of my happy places. I love being there. And there was a band opening for some other local artists, and two young guys who were really just getting started out. They didn't have any photos of themselves, like even together, never mind playing music. And so I took the photos, I sent them to them, and they were like, we're a band now, like we have photos, and they started sharing them on social media, and it just gave them this sense of like, we're representing ourselves in a new way now. And that's I think something that's really important for everybody's artistic growth and their growth on social media.
No, it's definitely true, and it can become that beast. Who do you want to portray, to that social media crowd, and you've got to start to do some like real, internal thinking on how you want to represent yourself. I've never in my life, because they didn't sell us this when we were growing up. They didn't tell you that, they said, hey, be a musician. It's an easy life. There was literally a song about it. There's money for nothing and the tips for free. You know what I mean? And that's not what it's like, because you're literally working like from the moment you wake up if you fall asleep that night, you're working the entire time, whether it's on social media, writing a song, thinking about the next move, thinking about the stage show, prepping up for practice, thinking about if a song that you're releasing, someone could, I always forget what it's called, but someone could co-opt your song. And it could be people that you're like, hey, there's a lot of hatred that you're putting out to this song, and that has nothing to do with it. Right. Please don't do that. No, don't let this song, live in hate land. That's not what this was about. But it happens, and these are the things that can literally drive somebody crazy. I know, it happens. But as you continue to move forward there, it is amazing to have somebody on the outside. It is amazing, and I'm kind of pitching this to all those that are listening,
on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City Made, EZ Blues is in the building. Casey Marie is with us on Behind the Brand. Go ahead, Easy.
So smooth, like lightning smooth. That was just like a surgeon. He came in there. But no, it's very important, and like I said, I'm pitching those that are listening at home, and like, yeah, well, we were thinking about doing that, and I think that'd be a really good idea. We should take a look at how it goes through. Hit up Casey, have the conversation, move. Definitely hit up Casey before you hit up. Like, I will give people branding advice. I have no problem with that, and in fact, the Patreon is coming where there'll be tiers and levels. Nice. But I'm also going to be real honest about things. At some points, a little too honest. At some points, I forget that there's a human being behind it. And it's just like, bro, it's dollars and cents. So please hit up Casey first. And then maybe if you're slightly masochistic, hit me up. We'll have a conversation. It'll be fine.
It's all in your style and the kind of style somebody wants to work with. I mean, Sarah Dunn calls me a cupcake of a human. So if you want to work with a cupcake of a human, I'm your girl. But if you don't, that's fine.
Well, no, that's the thing. It's almost kind of like you have this Disney-like persona. And you're kind of like the fairy godmother of the act that you decide to work with. You're giving, and it's even kind of what you do in your other gig too as a VA. You are the fairy godmother, and I think you should own that. You need to walk around with wings. I'm just saying, have some wings. It'll be fine. I do go to
Renaissance fairs, so I should probably
There you go. And it's all about the branding. See, now we've got a whole thing. We can market cards now. You and wings. This is great. See, I love it. We're brainstorming here live on the air.
So far, my branding is just like purple and pink hair and pink lipstick. So
word.
Yeah, that's how I'm known. People see me coming. So
but
thank you.
It's of course it's great moving forward and stuff like that. This last couple of segments that we have, I really want to talk about the future for what you're doing. I know you have a bunch of gigs and stuff coming up. I know that you're going to be at a bunch of cool gigs that'll be coming through, I think, this month or next month. Where can people find you to talk to you? Like, what gigs are you going to be at where they can meet up with you?
Oh, I'm a little on the spot because
we like to do that. This is how we know it's a real show.
I don't have my calendar handy. And I can't remember. I'm one of those people who it's like, wait, where am I going to be now tomorrow?
I get it.
You need this thing called the VA. They actually,
I know, right? Exactly.
That helps.
So I will suggest, one of the things I like to tell people is all of the artists that I've mentioned, go to their social media, check out their upcoming dates. You will probably find me at one of those, but also you'll find my photos on there somewhere and you can connect with me through that. But you can also caseemarie.com, CASEE, is an easy way to find me. So I'm also a family caregiver. I'm a caregiver for my dad. So during the weeks I tend to be with him, and that makes, most of my work happens at night or on weekends, so it's always a bit of a toss up. And then sometimes if I'm scheduling photo shoots during the week or something like that, it's kind of scheduling around when my sister can be here or something like that. So yeah, I think I know Brian Dolzani is playing in Bridgeport on Sunday night, and I'm planning to be there and photographing. So if anybody wants to come out to see Brian anyway, because he's amazing. And he's a dear friend of our family. We actually put on a house show in my parents' backyard in 2020, and he played. My dad has terminal cancer, and he had he had a stroke actually a month after this house concert happened, but he was going through chemo, and it was a hard time. And Brian is his favorite artist, and he came out and did a house show for us, and it was phenomenal. I will never be able to do enough to support that man. He's been really an angel in our lives. And so pretty much find a Brian Dolzani gig. Okay. Find a Stephen Peter Rogers, a Keith Carini, come out to a Woodbury show, to a con artist show. I will be there. And yeah, and find a Shane Penguin gig.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Yeah, actually, you'll be there at Best Video at the end of August. We'll be making our Best Video debut, and they're already like, "Hey, maybe acoustic, maybe."
Yeah.
Put you outside, but like we don't want noise ordinances. So if you could play a little bit down.
Yeah.
And we've been blessed enough to have the songs that translate very well over to whatever type of medium we decide to play them in. Apparently, from what people tell us, that's a difficult thing. We didn't know.
I would like to say, I don't know if you remember this, but the first time I met you was after a Shane Penguin gig, and I was with my friend Marla Genova, who she actually was my support group facilitator when I was in the support group for social anxiety, and she now helps people with social anxiety and specifically public speaking and performance anxiety. And she saw you perform with Shane Penguin, and she was like, I need to pick this guy's brain, and like, how does he get up that confidence on stage? And you were just amazing. And so we found you after the gig, and she was like, tell me about this. Tell me about how this started and how you feel up there. And
you want to know, that was one of the first times I was ever truly freaked out at a show. I'll be honest with you. No, like, because I have severe actual social anxiety.
Yeah.
And you know, the difference is like, it's, how do I say this without coming off too cocky? It's actually, who I am on stage is actually who I am.
Yeah.
The person that you see right here, or like that you meet in public, is who I think you want me to be. So, you know, I'm so afraid to be like kind of like called out, that it's tough to get back in. And some people will call it kind of like a Superman complex, because, you know, Superman was actually who the guy was.
Yeah.
Clark Kent was the pretend disguise, you know, that as he saw humanity. And I don't have superpowers, so I don't do that. Don't fly. If you shoot me, I will die. So please don't shoot me. You know, but my stage performance is that type of larger than life thing, because I feel people have paid money to see a show, and, you know, I want to give them that moment to move forward. Plus, it's therapy. You know, I've had a bad week. I'm going to beat myself up. But unfortunately, the Apollo curtain is getting pulled on us right now, and we want to give this last couple of moments. It'll probably be a 2-part thing, might be a 1-part thing. But what are on the social medias? How can people get in contact with you?
Sure.
And then the last part, if we have a moment for it, what is that one nugget of advice that you would give somebody trying to start out in this industry?
Sure. So part 1. CaseeMarie.com. You can search me on Instagram, Casee Marie Photo, all one word. And pretty much Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Just search Casee Marie or Casee Marie Creative, and I will come up. My advice is definitely going to be start before you're ready. start before you think you're ready. If you wait until you feel ready, you're not gonna do it, because none of us ever actually feel ready. We are all pretty much terrified to do creative work, and we do it anyway. And that is just, that's the process. And get friendly with your inner critic, because they're not going to go anywhere. They're just going to keep trying to find new ways to scare you into staying hidden. And you don't have to listen to it. It gets easier. You start to get like, I did this with my anxiety. You start to get like, oh, hey, there's anxiety. Here comes a panic attack. We're just going to wait it out, and don't let it define you. Yeah.
Thank you again so much for your
Thank you so much for having me here. It's been a blast.
It definitely has been an absolute blast. And also, when you do become friends with that voice inside your head, your big critic, just paint them as the old dudes from the Muppet Show.
Yes.
I find it so much easier for me. And then it knocks them down, and that means we have to play a show.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for being on here.
Thank
Casee.
you.
It's been a great time, and we look forward to continuing to watch you grow and build. Blessings.
Thank you both so much for all you do. We're all just out here trying to do the work we love, and it's very amazing of you to spotlight that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Casee. On WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. This has been Behind the Brand, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, MC Made E.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout?